Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, out of breath, but happy to see everybody. And thank you for joining us tonight. Very shortly, Terry Dodson will be joining us to talk about a new book that he's doing with Matt Fraction called Adventure Man, a cool image book that debuts this Wednesday. I've had a chance to read it. It's fantastic. It's totally up my alley. If you're a fan of the old pulps, I think you're going to enjoy this because it's a great take with a new spin, kind of rebooting the whole pulp genre. Matt Fraction and I talked about it briefly about a month or so ago. And man, I'll tell you, this has been a conversation that's been a long time coming, being able to talk to Terry Dodson. But he's not here right now. So if you want to ask me some questions, I'm here for you. What can I tell you? I've been watching a ton of noir, preparing for the next Word Balloon Scene Missing conversation of old movies. Spent a lot of time watching a lot of really interesting movies I've never seen before, not only on Turner Classic Movies, but Hillary Barta, one of our regulars on Scene Missing, mentioned a great channel called Movies with an Exclamation Point, and it's based here in Chicago. It's Weigel Broadcasting, and pretty cool. It's fantastic. I'm a big fan of it, and they spend Sundays and Thursdays doing a ton of noir. So thank you, Henry. I'm excited as well. And it's a good opportunity to watch some really cool movies I've never seen before. I saw a dud with Betty Davis and Humphrey Bogart from 1937. Was bored out of my mind by it. I was stunned, but I got to be honest, it really wasn't that great of a movie. It was a Columbia. I think it was a Columbia movie. Maybe it was a Warner Brothers movie. Yeah, I think I'm confusing it because then I also saw a Charlton Heston movie with Elizabeth Scott. So pretty cool stuff. That's an interesting little kind of a soap opera, less of a noir, more of a soap opera movie. So, thank you very much, Comics Matter Pod. That's very kind. I appreciate that, man. It's a pleasure to be doing these great conversations, and I thank the creators for making themselves available during this very strange time. Man, I'm telling you, the protests that are going on, it's really, I'm on the one hand, obviously, unfortunately, something really bad has to happen for positive change. And, if I haven't said it before, I'll say it now. I mean, I'm watching, as everyone else is, George Floyd's funeral today and in Houston. And, please support the charities that are out there doing good at this very interesting, crazy time. So thank you very much for coming here and hopefully, providing a little bit of a release from all the misery that we've all been suffering and certainly some suffering even more. So I hope this kind of gives you a little bit of an entertainment and oasis. So are there pulp fans out here in the audience? I don't know Canopy. Canopy has a lot of great noir, tells Henry. Interesting. I am not aware. I guess Henry is a noir fan. That's good to hear. I am too. I always appreciate it, and we'll get into it when we start talking to Terry. I've always appreciated the general themes of the pulps, going back to great people like Doc Savage and the Shadow and the Spider and some of these other interesting characters that came out. The Avenger, I'm a big fan of the Avenger. Richard Benson, the guy with the frozen stone face who saw his people killed and everything. His family and his face froze, but then he became a master of disguise. He could shape his face into different things. I mean, that was the beauty of the pulps, the precursor to the superhero line. Canopy is the free live streaming service. Oh, okay. I knew it as, I guess, Hoopla. And I guess I'm assuming that Canopy is the streaming version of Hoopla, because I know there is a lot of like online stuff through your local libraries and stuff, which is just fantastic. It doesn't surprise me. Also, Amazon Prime and Tubi, great sources for a lot of noir. So, I hope everyone had a chance to listen to a couple of great word balloons that I put out today. A great conversation with David Hyde. David Hyde is behind Superfan Public Relations. He reps a lot of creator-owned comic books and gets the creators out there for us to talk to. And, man, I'll tell you, my recent conversation with Ed Brubaker was set up by David's company. I mean, Ed's a bud, but, they hire these people to keep their schedules straight. So I do understand, but he's been a longtime friend. He used to be with DC Comics, and he talks a lot about promoting and trying to promote comics today, creator-owned comics in this very competitive market. And I'll tell you, Terry Dodson is standing by, so I'm going to add him to the stream right now. If hopefully, all right, I'm assuming Terry's going to be ready. Terry, give me an okay, and I'll let you know that you're ready, and I can put you in the stream. Hold up, do an okay for me. There you go, beautiful. All right, there's the thumb. So here he is, everybody. Terry Dodson joins us.
Hey, John.
Terry, welcome.
Hey, good to see you.
Nice to see you. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Did you put out the word? I sent you. I know I was slow on the link. I was slow to send you where to send your fans and everything to watch live on Word or on YouTube, Word Balloons YouTube.
Yeah. I got the word out, so we'll see.
Well, we're going to talk about Adventure Man, and congratulations on the comic. It's fantastic. I think it's an excellent start, and I really appreciate it. Fraction really only scratched the surface with me in terms of story. I know that there are surprises in that first issue, so you reveal what you want to about Adventure Man and give people the 10-cent tour.
Okay, it's Adventure Man himself is kind of the it's Doc Savage-esque kind of a character. We start off in a 40s pulp fiction world of Doc Savage, and but what we learned as the story progresses is the Adventure Man is the favorite character of this lady Claire, who and her son. They love this series called Adventure Man. It's a series of books, and they just assume it's a series of books. But as it turns out, there's things that are happening in those books that start happening in the real world, and the universe is kind of combined, and that's where the story really takes off. And Claire kind of becomes the new Adventure Man. So.
Very cool, man. I've got a couple images from what you sent me. So here's the cover, everybody, for the first issue of Adventure Man, out Wednesday.
Yeah.
From Image, and it's another fantastic Terry Dodson cover, man.
Yeah, that's fun to do.
Excellent, and then let's talk about the design of some of these characters and stuff. And there's Claire in the bottom, and of course all the great characters that she's reading about there. And as you say, kind of an homage to Doc Savage. So how much of the story is yours, and how much of the story is Fractions?
It's funny. The origin of Adventure Man, as far as I remember, is Matt and I were doing Uncanny X-Men, and it was taking place in New York. And I told Matt, I go, man, I love drawing New York. And he goes, oh, I got a story for you. And so he sent me the proposal for Adventure Man, and that the basic outline of the story has stayed the same since then. It starts off with Claire and her son just discovering the story, at least reading the stories of Adventure Man, and then these universes colliding. But from there, we stretch quite a bit. And every time we do a new scene in a story, even, it changes. I mean, things keep growing. There's the basic plot line from the beginning to the end is the same. But the cool thing is that it's become very organic. I come up with ideas, I'm drawing the pages, Matt incorporates that, and then we'll talk about the next part, and he just goes somewhere else, but still maintaining the gist of the story. So every time I get new pages to draw, it's always a surprise, which is great, because as I know where everything's going, I don't know what's going to happen exactly on those pages. So it's really cool that it's a very organic and really feed off each other's ideas and improve upon it and move on. So again, linearly, it's the same story, but the first issue, the plot Matt sent me was 21 pages. The story itself printed is 56. So that gives you a pretty good idea of how that's working out. So yeah,
that's great, man. Honestly, I love a good oversized first issue, and also, I mean, you got to do a lot of setup and kind of at least give part of the premise and really, but also give people a fulfilling read. And I think you guys succeed. Were you a Doc Savage fan before this idea popped up?
I'm a fan of the eras. I think. I mean, not Doc Savage specifically, but I can compare that to something like Indiana Jones or.
Sure.
Honestly, it's the time period of the 30s and 40s. I really like the design of the characters, the clothing, the architecture. There's so many artists that I like, painters, illustrators that were in that time period, and it's such a good looking period. And the clothes and the fashion, it's very good looking stuff. So you start off with a really nice, solid design. You just kind of go from there. You add more leather, more more pockets, a scarf. It's a little bit more, deco edging to things. It's just such a great jumping off point. I mean, it's a really good looking period of design across the world.
And as you say, Claire and her son are reading from an old pulp. Claire's taken over her mother's used bookstore.
Right.
And it's funny because when I go to used bookstores, I immediately look for the paperback reprints of a lot of the pulp stuff. I'm a massive Shadow fan. I am a massive Doc Savage fan. The stories don't hold up. And sadly, there are, it can also be a tougher read, I think, for younger people because there are accepted racial stereotypes and a woman's kind of place in the story. Although there was always exceptions, like, Doc Savage always had his cousin Pat, who was a very capable woman. And in fact, the crew that you guys have devised for Adventure Man have a couple women on the team, as well as easily recognizable ciphers of Doc Savage's crew of 5.
Right.
As I remember.
Well, we've had 80 years to take a look at what was there, what worked, what was kind of not wanted to be seen again, or maybe embarrassing today. And, let's take advantage of what we know today and update it a bit, to our taste. So, obviously adding more female characters is great because there's such more variety of characters to draw. I mean, for me, it's always about the more diversity there is in those characters, way more interesting for me to draw, and be more challenging design work for me. That's just in such a range of, again, with styles and hairdos and all that stuff. It makes it simple for, as it's a comic book, it makes it a lot easier for people to read too. But yeah, no, it's a great time period. Doc Savage, to me, I never read the books, but they always have those great James Bond covers, which I loved.
Agreed.
They're all mysterious, all this great stuff. So those covers were. I actually working on this book. I really tried to avoid looking at that stuff. Where I really tried to look at the actual stuff from the period, what people were really wearing, and then go from there. Not try to look. I really didn't look at pulp magazine covers. I didn't look at Doc Savage stuff. I really looked. I did look at contemporary artists at that time to see how they were painting people and the styles and the clothes and the colors. But I really tried to avoid any direct, since we were already kind of going off this kind of general stereotypes. I really wanted to not have it so stereotyped from the beginning. And I love that look anyways. So I was already comfortable in that with the leather and with the pouches, with the it's just, again, good looking stuff. So like I said, I was already happy working in that period. So it just mattered going from there.
I can appreciate that, man. Well, and I also here I want to look at the cover for issue 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, there you go. And also, again, when we see all the characters that Adventure Man played around with, and then we get into it's Cassie, right? Forgive me.
Claire.
Excuse me. All right.
Claire. Yeah.
Don't have it written down. Shame on me. So Claire, we also meet. First of all, we meet her son, who clearly is going to be a big part of the story. But I think we also kind of get a hint that as we meet Claire's family, they all have skills. And
correct.
We can kind of. You can kind of connect the dots that likely we are seeing the beginnings of a pulp homage, but in modern, how modern people would handle probably a pulp like Calamity.
Correct. Yeah. No, it's there's like so much. Again, it's 80 years after this kind of stories. What are we going to do with those stories today? And it's just, the world has changed so much that time. Technology's changed, styles have changed. So it is. It's a real treat. It's just like a box of goodies you got to keep opening up and finding new surprises inside. And again, it turning things on their head and turning them sideways and going. You can just keep expanding and designing and creating new things. So it's a lot of fun.
Hey, Bo Smith is joining us. Sounds like a wonderful mesh of traditional pulps with the progressive relevance of today and tomorrow. Yeah, sounds like it to me too, Bo.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you, Bo.
Yeah, thanks. No, it's a we're going to actually have, we can compare and contrast the two societies and times, but also almost coming up with a third, a mix of those two, for how would those combine? And it's just all these different things you can play around with. So it's a blast. It's each. I will also say, as much of as fun as it's been, it was quite a challenge because essentially I'm designing two entire worlds and teams and cast of characters for that first book. And it's just shipping now, but I've basically wrapped those colors on that a month ago, and still designing, still going through all that stuff because you're jumping from all these different scenes in those time periods as well, and characters. And so it was worth it having a little bit extra time to do it, and I needed it. But boy, what a lot of work, but in a good way, very satisfying because it's a world that I enjoyed being in. If it was just a typical project with that much work, it wouldn't have been fun. But having a chance to design stuff I was really excited about and just kept fueling the next thing that I was going to do, the next idea, and then spinning off into another direction.
Very cool. And he's just, the colors look fantastic. And you've got your wife Rachel, as always, inking you. When did Rachel start inking your stuff, Terry?
Officially, Rachel started inking me in '96. She started working as an assistant when we were dating, like in '94, '95. Started inking like some pinups and stuff. But like daily, officially, we're at '96. Starting on Generation X at Marvel.
Wow,
1996. Yeah, so it's been a while.
That's fun. So hey, and people can ask questions about any of Terry's runs, and I'm certainly going to get into talking about some of Terry's classic runs in the past. And as we know, we mentioned it earlier that Terry and Fraction worked together on Uncanny X-Men, but also. The Defenders, am I right? Wasn't it the Defenders you guys did for 12 issues? I love that run. Yeah. I was very bummed that it got only 12 issues. It looked fantastic, and I love the team. And I thought it was terrific. It was between the tail end of Uncanny X-Men and into Defenders where we were discussing Adventure Man. So there were ideas in Defenders that we ended up using later in Adventure Man. There's a tie there to all that stuff. It's loose, but there's a lot of fun ideas that we had that we said, we can do this here, but let's really do these things in Adventure Man. So, yeah. That's cool. And also, you're in midstream with X-Men versus the Fantastic Four, and Jimmy says, I'm upset that XFF isn't out yet. One issue left, and they stopped production. And that's been in the can since March 27th or so. It'll be out in July. Excellent. That's great, man. And, I talked to Zdarsky last month about it. Great miniseries. And I love, again, man, it's always a treat, man. You draw beautiful people and great action and stuff. And I really love your designs for all the characters, and the story itself, I think, is terrific, where Franklin is really trying to figure out who he is. And he's the most dangerous member of the 616 universe. And especially given, that he's still kind of a tweener and is still trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, no, that story was a great one to return to the Marvel universe with. It was Chip writing it, and then I've drawn the X-Men off and on forever, and the FF were the team that actually the book that I grew up more on than the X-Men even. And so the chance now to come back and draw those characters finally on a longer term basis.
Yeah,
and then having it with the X-Men, who I knew really well, and I knew what I wanted to do with the FF, and so it was a great combination. And coming off the heels of the Hickman, story, like, oh yeah, what a great place to pick up and play with. So yeah, terrific. And the design work, all the characters were great, and Krakoa was fun to draw. I can't wait for people to finish reading the story, because there's still, that last issue has got a couple bombshells in it. So
excellent.
You've read 3 issues, but the 4th issues, there's an ending to a story for a reason. Yeah,
absolutely. That's fantastic. Hey, Gregory Eskridge asks, so which X-Men character was the most difficult to design and draw?
Like a character like Mr. Sinister is a character I still haven't really grasped my aversion of. Anything that I've designed, I think I've had a pretty good luck with, but then maybe Mr. Sinister, someone that I've not really come to grips with in my head yet. But everybody else is like, it's like breathing, drawing the X-Men. I've known them for so long that I'm pretty I have a pretty clear take on what I want to do with them. So yeah.
Here's a follow-up from Gregory regarding this series. What's drawing the theme of the Fantastic Four? Was it as difficult as I think it might have been?
No. Again, the Fantastic Four. Again, since I grew up reading them, I really had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do. I've done a few covers, and in those covers, I kind of nailed down what I felt they looked like, and so it's so cool to like those characters as a kid, and finally now at my full, powerful drawing essence, I'm at now as a professional to draw them really for the first time, and know exactly what I want to do. And then, but I'm a kind of an artist that I think I don't want to do, then I'll draw something and I'll change it, and I just keep evolving as I go, even on a page. Kind of breaking the rules, but that's why I work in comics and not animation, where I have to stick to the model sheet. So
I can appreciate that.
I always roll.
Terry, do you work with models? Because seriously, the way you draw women is really amazing, and I'm always blown away. The eyes are always. I mean, they're low. You draw the female form and the male form for that matter quite well, but really a lot of it is the face and the eyes as well. I mean, they're beguiling.
I learned to draw by drawing real people, by doing figure drawing and life drawing for 4 years while I was in college, and so all my knowledge of anatomy was taken from drawing real people. And so once that is in your head, there's a way that real people look and volumes and the way the characters act. It's very innate that you learn that stuff from looking at real people as opposed to studying comics. I mean, it's nice to look at comics and cartoons and animation and see how you can simplify and shortcut stuff. But all the time spent drawing real people was huge. And what I never do is start off with a model or photo reference. I always start off with my gut instinct in my head of what I think something looks like, and then because I find it to be the most dynamic, most true, it tells the story the clearest, as opposed to being a slave to a photograph. And then when there's a problem in my drawing, I come back to that. I'll find reference for something to correct it, or have someone pose, or myself pose. I mean, the mirror is a great ally, and with comic book artists, that we can look at a mirror, look for expressions. I mean, I really try to go with my gut instinct, what I feel it looks like correctly. And if something's just goofy, that I will have Rachel pose, or I'll pose, or find a photo, whatever it takes to get the drawing correct. Find that thing. Generally, it's just someone posing, or that's especially with women. It's just nice to see they just don't move like we do.
Absolutely.
Certain way our hand is held, fingers are held, hair. Yeah, it's studying the real thing is gigantic.
That's excellent, man.
Source of inspiration.
Say it again, buddy. I'm sorry, I kind of stepped in.
The real world and real people are a great source of inspiration. I'm always learning and looking. I mean, there's people always ask, well, where to learn to draw. And it's like, man, just walk out your door. It's there. It's the real world is so well designed, and what you can steal from looking at a real thing, you can always take back and build, separately in your head.
We're getting a lot of questions, and this is one I should have asked earlier. Leon Jarrett asks, is Adventure Man an ongoing or limited series?
Well, we're doing the first year is I guess is a limited series. It's just that the issues are so big that there's no way I could do that ongoing. So the first year is 4 or 5 issues, but it's going to be 150 pages. I mean, it's like,
Great.
a lot of pages.
That's excellent.
They're dense pages. They're not typical 3, 4, 5 panel pages. They are a little more European, like, where they're 7, 8 panel pages. This ongoing wise, the story is going to take a couple of years to get out. So it's definitely worst case a few years of story, and then if it does well, people want to read more, we'll keep rolling with it.
Excellent. Hey, Bo wants to know, at what age were you drawn to comic books and put pencil or crayon to paper?
I started late drawing and comics, maybe comic. I mean, I saw my first comic before I started drawing, but I didn't draw. I didn't draw at home. I didn't draw in my household. No one else drew in my household. After I saw Star Wars, I became friends with a kid that drew, and he drew Star Wars stuff, and that was the first time that I drew.
Wow.
That was 8 years old.
8 years old. Wow.
Yeah, and even that was my friend was much better than I was, and so there was no need for me to draw any more than I did. Mostly, we drew Jawas and X-wings and that kind of stuff. At some point, though, there was a crossover between me looking at comics and art and Star Wars stuff. Star Wars, making Star Wars stuff. Star Wars is huge. I keep going back to saying Star Wars, but I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Star Wars. Because of Star Wars, I started buying comic books, and the artwork that I saw made me interested in art, and I kept coming back to it as far as like the movie, making the movies, the how-to stuff in Star Wars. That was all interesting to me. Looking at, and I loved all the design work that I'd see, the Joe Dodson drawings and all that kind of stuff just inspired me. And so getting more and more into comics through the Star Wars comics, at some point, maybe 10, 11 or 12, I started drawing just a little bit more by myself, and then it's into junior high where I really started getting into comics, and I really started to draw a lot, and especially on summer vacations. And that was like those 3 months of summer, I would just draw and fill up sketchbooks. So it's like as an artist, like 3 months of the year. So every summer, like through high school, I would draw all the time. So it took me, I kind of got a late bloomer as far as drawing time. So it's like when I got hired to work professionally, I finally could draw full time. So.
Fair enough. I want to get through because we got a ton of questions, which I'm thrilled about. And here, Gregory says your Wonder Woman was stupendous. I completely agree. I mean, really, both companies, man, you've done such really iconic looks. And I know, too, Dave Fowley was saying how much he loves your Harley Quinn run, of course. Yeah.
No, Harley was, Wonder Woman was an awesome opportunity. It was a character that I knew innately I would draw decently at worst. I just knew what I would do. And so when the opportunity came along, I was ready to draw her. I knew exactly how to approach it. Same with Harley. The Harley story is even better. Is that I had been working on Generation X at Marvel for 2 years, but I'd really gotten into Bruce Timm and Shane Glines' artwork from the Batman cartoon, and I was always drawing those characters. What I was doing is I was designing all my Marvel characters in a Bruce Timm style.
Interesting.
Not drawing the page like that, but I just really simplifying those costume designs down to something that could be animated. Really worked for me, and it still kind of does. And so I was drawing Harley for like 6 months, and then I got a phone call from Matt Adelson at DC Comics, said, "We're doing a Harley Quinn book. Would you like to do it?" And it's like, wow, that is weird timing, because and actually I find that my career's kind of gone that way. When I'm generally interested in something, I'll get a phone call. That's it. It irritates in a way that I've had that happen at half the time in my career. I decided my way to run my career is just don't do it. Don't run anything. Just let it come to me, because I find the things that I just let happen naturally are always my best projects, as opposed to the ones I try to pursue and make happen. They're all good, but that definitely, it's weird how good luck I've had just sitting back and letting the phone ring.
I've appreciated your creator-owned stuff over the years too, and there was that great Soviet adventure hero, right, or Russians.
Red One, yeah.
Red One, absolutely. Yeah. Am I right, Terry? Maybe a little influence of that great, or it wasn't that great, but it was a great idea, that Raquel Welch 60s movie Fathom. She to me reminded me of Fathom.
I wish. No, I grew up in the set. I mean, I was born in the 70s, but I grew up in the learning pop culture in the late 70s, early 80s, and so that was just me remembering my childhood. I went to LA twice as a kid, and there's so much stuff that I saw. The light, the people, the places I went, and I just felt that era. And so I knew what I wanted to do with that. And so when that story came along, I was like, I know this place, I know this location, I know these people, the look I wanted to go for. And since I colored that myself, I knew that really helped making it feel like a real place or time. I knew how to light. I knew what at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I knew it looked like this or whatever. So actually, Jacqueline Smith was my hair model, but not 1977 or 78 Jacqueline Smith. There was photos I found of her pre Charlie's Angels where she had straight hair, and it's like, wow, that's my hair. Which is it was a 70s hairdo. Sure. But it was that pre feathered hair, Farrah Fawcett look. Not the Farrah Fawcett, but just the straighter hair. So that was Jacqueline Smith, and then the face was a bit of Jacqueline Smith, and honestly, that I just kind of knew what I wanted to do with her. I knew she would. When I drew her the first time, it was just right. It really wasn't a real model for that face the more I think about it.
Okay.
I drew that post Wonder Woman. In Wonder Woman, I was a dark haired, a little bit of Diane. I'm blanking now on the 70s Wonder Woman actress, and
Linda Carter, of course.
Linda Carter, and so she's a bit of Linda Carter, but it really wasn't. I mean, it's just me learning that what made her look like that, and then adapting. It was really the character of her, knowing her, the Red One character's background, with that she was Soviet and she'd been military. And so I could just feel what that character would be like. And so it just came out that way, which was really lucky.
I like it. And now here, Jimmy's reaching back. He just read yours and Kevin Smith's Spider-Man Black Cat book and loved it. Man, I'll tell you, honestly, Terry, I had checked out of comics in the 90s. So I really didn't discover you, I think, until kind of that Spider-Man Black Cat era and everything. Yeah. And and I know that was a book that obviously had a bit of a hiatus before you guys
It was a 3-year, 6-month hiatus because I drew. I've lost track now, but I drew a lot of stuff in that time period. And it was really funny because I had actually kind of pre-booked up work for myself when I took that job, because Kevin Smith's reputation at the time was always have like year-long delays on scripts. And so I set up a bunch of different things, and Marvel was really cool about keeping me plenty busy that whole time. I got to work with Mark Miller and Brian Bendis, and during that time period. So it wasn't a bad thing. And I actually became a better artist even in that time that I was away from Black Cat and Spider-Man. But it was fun. It was such a amazing opportunity, because I'd never drawn Black Cat. I'd really never drawn Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was a childhood favorite. So I didn't know what I'd do with Spider-Man, and it just came naturally. It was something that I had a gut instinct of what I wanted to do with him, and it worked out. Sometimes you have a hunch and you just got to go with what you think's going to work, and it was fun. I simplified his webbing down, and I reduced the eye size a bit, and added more depth to his eyes. So, but I was a child of like Art Adams and Michael Golden, and those guys are a little bit cartoonier than what I do, but it was a cross between what they were doing and like the traditional looking Spider-Man from Romita. But it was really, it was me. It was what I wanted to do. There really wasn't else, I don't think, like that version. I believe at that time. But it was a blast. Such a fun character to do.
Dude, that series with Mark Miller, Marvel Knights Spider-Man, was outstanding and really a great story, beautiful design. Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, that was again. I mean, by then I was aware of you, and I was definitely paying attention. And that was a tremendous book. I really 9 issues, I want to say.
It was 12 issues, and Frank Cho drew 2 of them. Frank drew maybe the 5th issue and the 8th issue, I think. Oh, it was a total blast. It was like a chance to draw all the Spider-Man characters and do a slight redesign on all of them. And it's like, well, they're all classic characters as they are, so I didn't feel I really wanted to or needed to change them. But it was like, okay, this is my chance. This is to kind of simplify and modernize them slightly, and it was so much fun to do.
Well, and really a big character turn that started with Paul Jenkins, but I think with Norman Osborn really kind of fleshing him out even more, and as more of a like Luthor-esque sort of threat to the Marvel universe, more than just, you know, the Goblin and stuff like that, which I always thought was a great turn for the character.
Yeah. No, Mark had that story. He knew that whole thing all the way through, and it was like a real fanboy kind of moment to be able to draw that book. Just, you know, to be able to watch each issue knowing, okay, it's gonna be this, the next one's gonna be this, and such a kick to be able to do it. And then Frank came in and did the 2 fill-ins, and so to have him kind of break out on that book and do those great fill-ins as well, and it just made it a really nice package for everybody to read.
And your guys' styles complement each other. I mean,
right.
they're you know, I think that's great. I had forgotten that Frank had done those fill-in issues.
Yeah, so, no, it was really cool. It was such a good book. That book, and the so many people that I see at shows know me either from the Spider-Man Black Cat or the Marvel Knight Spider-Man, because that was a period where comics were really getting revived, and it made a real big impact on a lot of people. And so I've signed so many of those books. That's great. It's terrific, and I still, every time I come back to the Spider-Man character, I know right where I left off. I can pick right back up again. It's like going home.
There was also a series you did with Bill Jemas, Trouble, and right. and now Trouble, man, I'll tell you, those, and certainly these are photographs, so you had nothing to do with it. I don't know how those covers would fly today. It was an interesting idea, though, as far as trying to do kind of a teen romance book, and then of course, not you know, I mean, you had to wonder because the main characters were named Ben and May. Right, and Richard and I forget Peter's mom's name, but they all seemed to be kind of Parker family-esque without actually declaring. And so that was.
I'll say this: Joe Quesada called me up, and it was a project, was a personal favor to Joe. and then I grew up, but I was a fan of like the Frank Frazetta romance comics. I mean, I'm a Frank Frazetta fan, so
me too, man.
It's what it is, but the romance comics he did were just gorgeous. I have the black and white versions of them, and that was my kind of touchstone to kind of go, okay, without putting those aside and going, I can do something like this. This is, I understand where this is going. I went full steam on that book for 2 issues, and then I saw that the story was getting goofier and goofier. So I'm happy with all the work I did, but the first 2 issues I felt were really strong, where we had a blast and we did our best work, and the rest of it was fine. It's entertaining, and even those covers at that time, I'm not so sure flew. Conversation starters, I guess.
Oh, there you go. Love your art, Terry. That's nice. Thank you, Ben. I'm glad you chimed in. No, man, honestly, those photo covers aside, I appreciate what Marvel was trying to do in terms of let's experiment with a bunch of genres. And I mean, really, I even like that Teenage Namor book, right? That came out at that time. I want to say Andy Watson wrote that. And that's the thing, man. I mean, they really, it seemed like Jemas and Quesada really did try to comb through the creator-owned people then. And it's like, hey, what can you bring to Marvel? And let's try a bunch of different ideas. And like I said, no, I was certainly open to it. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, no, I mean, the romance comic, any kind of comic that is just not another superhero story is a great idea to try. Comics are a medium to themselves, not a genre of superheroes. And personally, I grew up being a fan, like I said, of Star Wars and all these other things, and it was through those things that I became a fan of some superhero stuff. But my main interest was never superheroes. I mean, I love superheroes, and that was my entryway into getting a job as being a professional artist. But to be able to draw all these other types of stories, it's like there's so much to do, and
Like Adventure Man is such a mix of all these other kind of genres. It's not just Pulp Fiction. We are, as the story goes on, people will see that we jump around, and I use what do I use? I use Hellboy meets Love and Rockets.
I can see that. Yeah, totally.
And for Adventure Man, and there's one more, but that's kind of a good jumping off point. I mean, it's like, why do something that we've seen before? Start off, give people something that they know, and then let's open up new territory. And also, it gives you the chance to do mysteries and romances and science fiction, fantasy. We're here one time. Let's get our money's worth of a variety of things we get to draw and create. It's there's so much stuff, so many projects I still want to do, and types of projects I want to do, and as I move along with the creator-owned projects, each one it's like I want 180 from the thing I did before. Even though I love everything I've done before, it's like this time let's do something else, something that no one else is doing, hopefully. And I feel like I've lucked out picking things so far that I don't think anything else is like that, really. Maybe you describe it as something initially, but then we jump and go. I've lucked out. The writers I've worked with have been wanting to do something different, and that's just me as an artist wanting to get better. I always want to jump onto something different that pushes me, challenges me. But then I need to have some kind of an innate love of that material at some point to springboard off of. So,
tell me about playing with the European album sort of format. Because is that a fair, guess on my part that you've kind of flirted with that with your creator-owned stuff?
Yeah, so this is the third project now I've done, and I've drawn all three of them European formatted size. The European format is simply, and obviously the books are printed bigger, but what the actual format, the actual proportions, it's a wider. The comic book is a taller, narrower item, and if you want to stretch it, a comic book, U.S. comic book is more like an envelope held on end. It's longer that way.
Yeah.
Whereas the European book is a little bit, let's say, boxier, more like a box shape.
Almost like an 8x10 photograph kind of, basic shape.
I think that's about the right proportions. So what I've figured out while working on the Red One book, I did my first series I did a book called Songs with Humanoids, and from that book I got acquainted with my editor there. Moved to Glénat, and Glénat was the European publisher for Red One, and he hooked me up with Xavier Dodson, who wrote that book. But it's through those experiments that I figured out the proportion that was halfway between a U.S. comic and a European comic. And so Red One was the full test of that. I was able to I draw that book in one scale or one size and publish it both in a comic book format and in a European hardcover without having to do anything different apart from making the pages larger or smaller. But the proportions work both ways. Okay. And so Adventure Man's being drawn the exact same way. I'm drawing the pages really big just because I like drawing large. But this book can be published and is being published both as a comic book format and as a European wide format. So the collections will be European wide and the comics will be US sized. So
okay, and again, issue 1 out Wednesday for Adventure Man, and July has issue 2, and
right. Yeah, we're good. July, Wednesday is issue 1. July 13th, I think it's issue 2, and August 12th, issue 3. Rachel's finishing up the inks on issue 4 right now. So
great.
And not only are the issues, I got to emphasize it's the 56 pages of issue 1, 32 pages full color of issue 2, which I'm just finishing the last page on now. 24. We go to a lowly 24 pages in issue 3. We're back to 30 pages in issue 4. And those aren't, just empty splash pages. Those are pages of story. There's a lot of big, good, fun images in there as well. But it's 146 pages, I think, for those first 4 issues.
Wow, that's amazing,
yeah.
Dude. I'm telling you, again, Terry was kind enough to show me the issue, and each page is densely packed. There are a lot of panel design and multiple panels and stuff. Here, both sticking with us here. European size is a true album format that lends itself to the art in an almost cinematic feel. I completely agree. Remember in the late 90s and early 2000s when they turned the comic book on the side and have that wide screen format. I personally love that because I really thought that was a great, way to experiment. Did you draw in that format at all?
I never did, but I mean, I have a feeling that down the road, one of my creator-owned books will be that way because it seems really intuitive to me to do something in that direction. I don't know. I've definitely thought about it quite a bit, and I'm just waiting for that right story to come along, and I think I'd do it in that format because the other cool thing about that is that it would look really good on a computer screen too.
Absolutely.
And I mean, personally, I like to read all my stuff in printed matter, but I see the benefit of it having something that easily can be on a computer screen, an iPad, or a handheld comic book. But yeah, the European album, that's that much more widescreen feel. And the cool thing is as much as you'll enjoy reading the comic book, the collection is going to look absolutely amazing because you'll be able to see all the details. And actually, I just got my comps today for this first issue, and I'm really impressed with how well it printed. Image, I'm pretty sure switched printers over the past 2 months.
Oh, wow.
I'm not positive about that actually happened on this issue, but I'm pretty sure it did. And it's the best looking print job I've had on a comic book in a long time. The paper's gorgeous. The blacks came out perfect. We were all a little bit nervous because a new printer doing our book, a 64-page book as well, not just, it looks fabulous. It really does. So as much as I'm pushing the hardcover, I'm actually thinking, well, this turned out way better than I thought it would. I'm used to being kind of so disappointed with the printing we get, but this was really nice.
What is the price for the first single issue from Image being a 56-page book? Is it
$3.99?
Wow, that's, you see, once again, because you guys can control that stuff. Yeah. There's a hell of a value. Well done, boys. I'm glad.
Yeah, all 4 issues are the first 4 issues will all be $3.99. That's just the standard price. We want people to buy the book.
Understood.
And we couldn't tell that story in less than 56 pages. It actually was 60 pages, and we actually dropped 4 pages out like 2 weeks before we were done, and added 1 panel to. So actually, the very first page you see, top panel was drawn like a month ago, and the other 2 panels were drawn like 3 years ago.
Wow. There's also a great essay by Matt in there, kind of explaining the inspiration for the story, and also, again, great character sketches from you.
Yeah. There's going to be more of that.
Excellent.
We kept them small because there's so much sketch material to use. Because I started doing my first sketches for this book in like 2011, so we have like 8 real sketches to pull from. And there were so many changes as we went. But the collection will have a lot of extra pages, I think, 20 extra pages to do all that kind of back matter in. But all 4 of our issues, at least the first 4 we've planned that are coming out this year, will have the back matter in them. We were just finishing up the back matter for issue 2 right now. So
wow, that's cool. I don't know if you guys would ever do essays the way Brubaker and Sean Phillips do for Criminal, and then do any nods to Pulp or anything like that, or inspirations for the series and everything.
Yeah, actually, Matt has some ideas, and I think he's waiting for. I'm not positive why he hasn't done it yet, but I know he has some definite ideas of Pulp related stories he wants to tell. Exactly what you're talking about.
Cool.
Then maybe they'll be going into the collection.
That's great.
But the first issue was really important. I felt that we kind of gave people that much information because Matt and I have talked about it for so long. We know so much stuff that we assume the readers do too. And after I got the book, I was like, we really need to add some more stuff back here, just to kind of. Matt just got it done. So I gave him a nod, and he just ran with it. So.
Well, this evokes memories too of Matt's series with Howard Chaykin, Satellite Sam.
Yeah,
that I was a big fan of as well.
Yeah. It's a great book. There's a little bit of a lot of things Matt has done in this book. It's so funny.
Science reminds me of that too.
Well, and the main character is deaf in our book, and
let's talk about that. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes, Claire is deaf, which is interesting.
Yeah. Claire is a retired New York police officer. She has, Matt can tell you the exact name, but she has a partial hearing loss from a shooting. And so she's medically retired from her job. And so but that from one of the first things I loved about this book was the thought that what a great thing to play around with is sound in comics. So there is no sound. It's balloons and lack of balloons or effects. And this was pre Hawkeye. This was before Hawkeye and the dog stuff. So Matt had already been playing around with wanting how you can play around with that element. And I love doing nonverbal, no words storytelling, and then having the chance to do all the sound effects myself. What a kick. I feel like it's so much part of the page, the sound effects. There was a point, in the initial part of my career, I was doing them, and then Marvel started having all the computer lettering, and it just was kind of difficult to balance doing the sound effects myself. But every creator-owned book I've done, I do the sound effects on. And I even do, like the first 2 series I did in Europe, I actually did the balloons myself too. Though it's a little more difficult going between English and foreign languages now. So I just said on this third thing, that since I know exactly what's going to happen with this book being translated overseas, that I said, you know what, I'll let someone else worry about the word balloons this time, because I was the one that fixed them last time. And that wasn't fun.
It's hilarious.
Learn.
Well, and I like the way that and again, it's just, do you have a letterer for the book? Because I like the way when Claire's okay, great. Because when Claire is she's got her hearing aids, and it's kind of optional whether she's plugged into what's happening around her or not. And there's a great family meal scene. And and I love the way that you did the word balloons then, where we can read them, but obviously we're experiencing kind of Claire's muffled, inability to really hear clearly and stuff, and also her faking her way. It's great. It's a great kind of classic family dynamic of, oh yeah, I'm paying attention to you. No, you're not, Mom. You don't have your hearing aids in. Nice try. And it's that's great.
Our letterer is Clayton Cowles, Eisner nominated Clayton Cowles. So. We're very happy to have him. Clayton lettered Red One for us here in the U.S., and Matt works with him regularly, and so he was our first choice as letterer on the book. So and he did a great job. So Matt gave him a lot of work to do, because as the story goes on, you'll see that there's not just one font or one balloon. We really tried to push the balloons, based on the fact that we're dealing with a character that is wearing hearing aids some of the time. And
Dave Fowley. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's just really important that the way we convey sound in the book is huge, and that's actually how she manipulates that for her own benefit. And you'll see in issue 2.
Very cool. Oh, that sounds great. Dave Fowley must have missed it, but he's saying looking forward to picking up each issue. Will the first 4 be collected in a hardcover?
Yes, the first 4 will be coming out towards the end of the year in a hardcover. Yeah, definitely. We are. I would say we're still going back and forth on the actual size, but it will be what's called an album size, a larger European-sized book. It's going to be 168 pages. It's going to be a hardcover.
Wow.
It'll probably be $24.95. These things will all change, but this will be. This will be the 3rd time I've produced one of these myself, so I know what I'm doing as far as the experience on it. Do we decide maybe make it slightly smaller, just because? But we'll probably end up doing what is about a 9.5 by 12.5 size book. So it'll be nice. It'll be a book you want to hold on to and reread and look through.
Do you have time? I mean, given where you are with Adventure Man, and also obviously X-Men Fantastic Four is wrapping up, and that obviously is just waiting for release next month. But are you working on another project right now?
I am working on. I'm doing covers now. I'm coloring. Basically, I'm coloring Adventure Man through August.
Okay.
And I'm drawing. I'm drawing covers, and then I'm drawing. There's a few pages left in Adventure Man 4 that we've changed that I'm going to be drawing. And then I am working on a new short story for DC that we're still at the story stage on.
Cool.
And I'm doing, which I never do, I'm doing commission sketches at home to kind of make up for not being able to do any comic conventions. because that's the only I actually don't do drawing at home or commissions at home. I do them only at shows. But since I'm not doing Seattle or WonderCon or San Diego for sure, I'm spending any spare time I have, which I'm trying to make spare time for that, because it's really fun for people to see me draw those sketches, which I really enjoy doing at shows, so people can watch me do it there. And so I'm actually filming every single one of them that I do.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So are people getting the video file from you as well as the sketch or whatever?
Well, they're all posted. I guess no one's actually asked me to send them the actual file, but they're there for them to see. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. So do you have a YouTube channel or a Vimeo channel? What do you have?
Yeah, well, I post them on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. I don't think I put any up on YouTube yet, just because of time. But yeah, they are going up. And actually, I should mention that at 6 p.m. tomorrow is the end of an auction for. I'm doing one 11x14 commission of a character of your choice, and that's through Gail Simone's Comic Writers Challenge. That the proceeds will go to the Black Lives Matter. And that ends at 6 tomorrow. The current high bid right now is $1,600 or $1,700 for the one sketch, but it's all going to a cause, and so that's your chance to get on one if you want to. I'll probably open up a sketch list next month, like maybe to commemorate me not being at San Diego for the first time in 30 years.
Wow! I understand, man. Jesus, I'm really glad you're involved with Gail's initiative. I think it's terrific, and really some really unique stuff has popped up because of it. Existing artifacts and God, I saw Oming's cover for Bitch Planet, Kelly Sue's book with Val Delandro. I mean, stuff like that, and it's cool that you're doing an original commission as well. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I've done donations, but I wanted to do something publicly. And also, it's like, what can I do that'll actually draw attention? It's like, well, I can host an auction somehow. And then I saw Gail's thing. Well, so I messaged Gail, and she's like, oh, we got it all set up. You just let us know. And it was I actually, like, within 30 minutes of me talking to her, I was able to get the auction started. I mean, that made it a lot easier to get the ball rolling.
Man, I'll tell you that, and what Sam Humphries did for the stores, Comics for Creators. This is let me state the obvious. This is a messed up time. I mean, my God, if things weren't already crazy, and again, I totally am supportive of the move for change that is so necessary right now, and I'm glad that there are initiatives like Gail's to support that. But yeah, I mean, again, plus I know for you guys too. I mean, some creators experience pencils down, and books that they were expecting to be out by the second quarter got pushed to the fall now and stuff like that. I know it's tough out there, man.
I mean, I have 8 or 9 issues of material of interior comic books coming out this year for the first time in 4 years, and and it's what a weird year to release all this work, because stores are closing, people are losing jobs, and there's delays. There's printers are shutting down. Distributors are changing. If I had to pick a weird year to launch product, it's a very, very unusual time. And as Matt and I have been doing finishing up our books, getting them off of the printer, and we're finishing up the back matter for that book. And it was the peak of the COVID for the last back matter. And we're sending out the back matter tonight or tomorrow for the second issue. And 1 month later, what a change of what we're going through and this month. That's right at this time. So the back matter is completely different this month, because the real world's really affecting how we operate, and giving people a voice in the back of our book if they need it. So. It's tricky. And the one other great thing about the Gail's challenge that she did is that so many of us artists or writers or whoever are very well-meaning people, but the jobs we would do are so all-encompassing and so time-consuming that to actually try to set up something ourselves is tricky. But if you give us a chance to go make it a little bit easier for us, we're really happy to be doing things that that we want to do, if there's an easy path for us to get down that too. It's like, okay, that makes sense. I can do this now. I mean, it really sped me up.
I hear you, man. No, especially when COVID was at its peak, I really felt guilty about not doing more. But then on my own, and then I aligned with Comic Arts page and the first Mainframe Comic Con, where they had things set up where they were doing online panels and proceeds were going to Hero Initiative and the Red Cross and everything. And I'm like,
Right.
good. I'm glad I could help out in that capacity. And with the current crisis, I'm glad I can help amplify the word on all these auctions that Gail has going. So that's great, and I'm really glad. I'm very glad that you're part of it. Freedom Convicted. Will you be selling any art books? I've bought one sketchbook of yours, but I'd love to have final pieces in a book format.
Yeah, actually, my website has a web store, terrydodsonart.com. There's a shop there. There's 4 or 5 books available for sale right now. So, and actually, the cool thing is, if you buy one, there's an option of getting a sketch in there as well. So, and if Rachel worked on it, she'll sign it as well. So,
oh, I hear the cats. Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson. I had no idea when I fell in love with your art, but I've always enjoyed it. From Mantra, that would be Malibu Comics, to Gen X. Everything else, Dodson's art is always a treat. Tell me about Malibu Comics, if you would, because I've never really talked a lot about that. What was that experience like?
It was terrific. I mean, that was my senior year of college. So I've been a full-time professional since that point. I started working in January of my senior year, and that was the Mantra job. And what a cool way to start. I mean, they treated us, since it's technically my first job, I didn't have anything else to compare it to, but I knew it was a good deal. The pay was great. They flew us down to LA to get for this big launch months before my book was going to launch. I think maybe I had the script. They just took really good care of us, and it really, I got to work with Mike Barr. And
Mike. Yeah, you guys co-created Mantra. That's amazing.
Yeah. It was really cool. It was to have that be your first project was just a great experience, and to be treated like we got treated. And I'm still friends with everybody that I worked at there. Actually, it's really too bad. In San Diego every year, on Saturday night, we go out. There's a group of us that goes out that I think everybody in that group has relation to Malibu.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's because I think we started doing it like while there still was a Malibu. It just happened to be on a Saturday night that we'd all get together. And that meal's gone on every Saturday since like '95. So,
wow.
Yeah, so we'll have to do a virtual
man.
Dinner, I guess. I don't know.
I don't believe you and I talked at Rose City last year because your table was always really busy, and I'm glad to see that. And that's why I'm like, all right, I'll talk to him online. He's busy. It's okay. And then I lost it, Dave, because I lost my wallet at the show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was, I know. Dude, comedy of errors, but everything turned out okay.
Yeah.
But man, I'm really glad. I keep saying it. I'm really glad I was at Rose City and at Chicago at C2E2 because I had a chance to see a lot of my out of town friends before. God only knows how long it's going to be, other than doing things like this before we'll all see each other at a show. Yeah,
I know. It's like I said, this was my 30th San Diego. I mean, that's just I always joke with Aaron Lepresti and I have shared a table now for would have been 20 years this year. And we just kind of joke. That's like how we used to traditionally set our year around with San Diego. It was like if we did launching a new project, or I'd always do my new sketchbook or art book or whatever at San Diego because there was a guaranteed crowd of thousands and thousands of people there. So that was like our marker of our year. And so this year to have that just be gone is unusual. I mean, honestly, to have a free week now in July for the first time in 30 years sounds kind of nice. I'll miss it. And I know it'll be back, but it's like, in a way, there's a certain relief not having to plan and travel and all that stuff. So I'll definitely miss it. So
set aside a work week. No, I understand. I really, you're not the first creator to tell me that, or exhibitor for that matter. I have exhibitor buddies that are like, as much as I'm missing it, it's kind of nice to have a break for a year.
It's the fans and the pros and the people you work with, and that's the thing, is that chance for a couple of days to really get to see people again, and talk and see what's going on. And we work at home by ourselves, and to really get out and see these people again and talk and do that kind of thing is terrific. And it's the people that make it special,
I know you've got covers coming up, and I'm always interested in the artists that kind of graduate to do cover work. And some of them don't look back as far as sequential, but clearly you still like doing sequential and everything. And I wonder if you want to speak to that at all in terms of that choice of continuing to do sequential work rather than, covers obviously pay great, and I'm sure you're in high demand, not only as a regular cover artist, but a variant artist as well.
Yeah. I love doing covers because it's a chance, obviously, first of all, covers and comics are a completely different beast. Covers go on to comics, but drawing a comic book, storytelling for a comic book page, and a cover are completely different muscles. They look very similar. It looks just like a large panel, but it's not. It's a whole other thing. So as an artist, it's a great challenge to go from the one to the other because I'm using completely different muscles. And all the covers I color myself, and so that's always a huge element to the design of them. Traditionally most of the interior I do for Marvel or DC, someone else colors. So I really concentrate purely on storytelling and page design and placement of blacks for the storytelling. But with the covers, then I'm focusing on design and color, and that's tickling this other part of the brain and challenges and stuff. Now, as far as like time and why I do or what I'm doing interior wise, or why I'm not doing covers, or if I am doing covers, basically these last 4 years, I think I've averaged maybe like 50 covers a year, like a cover a week essentially. But that was me drawing Red One and Adventure Man at that time, which is actually 200 plus pages, 300 pages. I almost wasn't really a cover artist. It was just a ruse that I was a cover artist. I was actually an interior artist who was doing a lot of covers. It's just that there was literally, I think it'll be interesting to see what the dates are, but I'm pretty sure it's like 4 years since there was interiors that came out for me. Though that entire time, except for maybe a month or two, I was doing interiors.
Interesting.
Matt hit one wall in Adventure Man, and then bounced. He launched to the stars after that. So there was like a couple months there where there wasn't a script, and so I did a lot more covers then. But essentially, yeah, I just love telling stories, and there's just so many things you can do on pages and telling stories. As long as you have a story you want to tell. If you get to a point where you're drawing books that you have no interest in, then it's work, and I'd rather just do covers or something at that point, or do something else. It's really interesting for me to tell stories I'm interested in, and if I can focus where I'm doing, I'll be back. We got a fight. One second.
Well, we'll take this opportunity as Terry is taking care of the Wild Kingdom. That was fantastic. I assumed that was like a phone ring or something. The last thing I thought it was the cats getting on each other. Too funny. We could wrap up if Terry needs to. I'll give him that option. But great conversation with Terry Dodson today. Too damn funny. What else can I tell everybody? What have I been watching other than noir movies? I saw a great documentary about the great filmmaker Preston Sturges. I think I started watching Laurel Canyon, everybody, on Epix. Is a great rock and roll documentary about the music scene of the 60s and 70s. And I would recommend that. So everything okay in the Wild Kingdom there, Terry?
I don't know what's going on.
That was fantastic. That was outstanding. That was very Wild Kingdom. That was amazing.
That's life working at home, man.
Prior to the COVID thing, do you work at a studio, or is working at home kind of a new thing?
I have Rachel and I've worked together at home for a long time. I'm part of Periscope, so I can go in there occasionally.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
I went over there. You weren't there that day. I was.
I don't think I've been there for a year. So.
Okay. Well, this was last August when I was there for Rose City. I was hanging out with Jeff Parker and Steve Lieber that day.
Okay.
And a few of the others. The
COVID change was so minimal for us. I mean, we feel really fortunate and also kind of guilty about how we work at home, and it wasn't that big of a change because with our deadlines, I mean, I wasn't going anywhere anyways, except for to go to do some shows for promotion. Besides that, I was just working.
Sure.
So, and we live outside the city, and so our contact with a lot of large groups of people is minimal anyways. The gym shut down or the movie theater shut down. Oregon shut down as quickly as Washington or California did.
Yeah, I remember.
But the population here is so spread out. So it was relatively safe, but we were closed down, and but fortunately we were busy working like normal. So it really wasn't that much of a change, apart from obviously the overall where I was not seeing family and friends like we were used to. Unfortunately, I'm working most of the time anyways. So, it was. I'm glad we're opening up a bit now. Obviously, of course, and I'm looking forward to the days when I can see people again and go to shows. But as far as studios and stuff, I helped. I was one of the founding members, I guess, of Periscope back in 2001, 2002 or so. And it's just Steve Lieber really took over being in charge of that studio and bringing people in, bringing interns in. Those interns are turning professionals. Those professionals are working there or have left and gone on, to be professionals elsewhere or other great jobs. And so we do a lot of beta testing stuff there in the studio for wacom tablets, etc. That kind of thing. And so it's a great resource for Portland area businesses to have that there. And it's great anytime I have a technical question or you need help with anything, someone there knows the answer or can help you point you in the right direction, because we've got such a network of professionals there, experience in all different matters, or their spouses are, or their friends are. So it's terrific to be a part of it. And even though I don't go in that often, I still value it as a resource.
It was fun, really being a fly on the wall that day. And I really did have the intent of maybe, I had my recorder with me, but I'm like, something, let's just hang out. And, Parker and I are old friends, and Lieber and I have gotten to know each other over the years as well. So it's like, let's just hang out. I appreciated watching them help other artists, as you said, and the interns as well. It was really a fun day. And that's it's a great community over there.
Yeah, and to have a studio like that last this long is pretty rare. I don't know. I mean, there could be more that have lasted that long, but it's approaching 20 years, which is crazy.
Wow.
And as healthy today as it was, or healthier. So again, it's because of Steve's hard work of keeping that together and nurturing and sub-nurturing the younger members who are now the older members now, and they're doing the same thing. So it's amazing to watch. So
that's awesome. All right, a couple quick questions. Dave Fowley wants to know how you like The Mandalorian, being a Star Wars fan.
Actually, I haven't watched it yet. I haven't figured out how to connect to stream that Disney Plus on my TV.
I understand.
I can do Amazon, I can do Netflix and everything else, but I haven't got Apple TV or Disney Plus on my TV yet. I mean, I'm not going to sit in front of my computer and watch anything else. I've spent enough time in front of a screen during the day that if I can't sit in front of the TV and watch it, I don't want to. But it's on my list. It's next up. I mean, soon. Can't wait.
That's cool. There you go. Okay. And then Henry asks, who are your favorite artists and influences growing up?
Oh boy. Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars was the first, that's not an artist, but just as far as an influence, I mean, gigantic. And that, as a child, I was like, not comic book things. It was Frank Frazetta and Norman Rockwell, Mansfield Parrish.
Yes.
And so very, not normal comic book related things. And then in comics, the first comic book artist that I remember liking was John Byrne. He's drawn the Fantastic Four, and I recognized his style. I think that's maybe why I liked him. And then obviously he drew great detail and had a lot of fun stories. And then there's like Art Adams and Michael Golden, Berenger Smith, and then a lot. And actually, what's really cool is I started discovering European stuff like in junior high school, because Marvel was doing the Epic stuff and all those reprints, and so Dark Horse was doing all these European reprints. You see, Disney cartoons were big on me as a kid. And so it's a pretty broad range. And then once we started getting into college, it just totally expands, because I started taking art classes and getting into like a lot of my favorite painting is like 19th century. And then that just opens up a whole nother can of worms. I get into illustration. And then once I started working and seeing, I met other artists. And then through that was modern day animation people like Bruce Timm and Shane Glines, and all the manga related artists, anime related artists. I mean, I'm a sponge. If something's good, I will learn. So it's such a privilege now to be able to have the internet and hop on, and you see something that's cool, you go there and look. It's like, wow, you discover 20 more people, and it's like Instagram is humongous for the amount of influence it's had on me as far as new artists.
Yeah,
it's just so many people producing great stuff, and it's like you can never stop learning, and those influences that I've had have pushed my eye and my design sense to all these different places. And so then I'll find a new artist that's kind of an offshoot of something like that, and I keep learning more that way. So, I'm growing every day, learning that stuff, learning new things. It's exciting it's exciting. You really I need to be motivated and really to push myself to get better. And that's what it is finding those new influences.
Well, clearly you love what you're working on. And again, that goes for both what you're doing in Marvel and also your creator own stuff. I mean, and it comes through. X-Men Fantastic Four is beautiful, and Adventure Man is very exciting. And not only the art itself, but the format that you're playing with. Right. It comes out on Wednesday, the first issue. Second issue about this same time in July, around the 12th or 13th, as you said.
Yeah, second week.
Okay, there you go. Second week in July.
We're on Batman's schedule. I found this out. Ben Abernathy, who's the editor of Batman, him and I have been friends forever, and we're always talking. And I was telling him about the date for the Adventure Man launch. And he's like, "Hey, that's when the Batman book's coming out, because that's a big deal. Batman 92. It's the Joker storyline or whatever."
Punchline. Yeah. That's cool. That's excellent, man.
It's hard for you guys to do that. It's like maybe Image knew that, I didn't. So pick up Batman. Adventure Man will be there as well for next months. So
that's excellent. Well, as the stores free up, go in your store and keep your social distance, but make sure you pick up Adventure Man. Or if you're at curbside service, make sure your shop has a copy waiting for you. Hey man, seriously, a pleasure talking to you in depth. And please come back. It's anytime. We can talk when the story arc wraps up at the end of the year. And I think I'm going to have to talk to Fraction, and maybe when issue 2 comes out, and get a little more from him on his side of the story. But excellent stuff.
We'll have to talk next time we talk. So now we got the intro talk over. Next time we can do the movies and TV shows and books and the pop culture talk. So,
please, Terry, that'd be great, man. I mean, I really don't want to. I mean, we've been going for over an hour now and everything, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But of course, absolutely, I would love to hear more about what inspires you as far as what you're watching and consuming. That'll be great.
That's a huge. I mean, that's a whole other thing. But that, like, for me, we try to go see movies once a week. We're always watching some series of some nature on TV. I'm always, again, like with art, or I'm always finding new artists. I'm always reading or watching movies or shows. It's like a blank slate. I'm just trying to fill it up. Fill up that blank screen.
Beyond promoting product, I mean, I really have been doing shows with Tom King and the Benson sisters, and my usual talks with Bendis and Rucka and Fraction and everything. We always break off and talk about that stuff. So if you even want to do a talk as well with like a couple other creators, and we'll bounce emails back and forth. Tell me, let me know what you're interested in, because I really want to do some general talks, and I know the fans love to learn that we all like the same stuff that they like, and then they get to meet you guys at shows, and geek out about Star Wars or whatever else, inspires you. So that'll be great.
It's cool to since we're creative people, I speak for myself, but I know it's got to be the same thing where we're always looking for stories and creativity everywhere. And that just is, it's fuel to spark you. And I don't, at night, I don't read comics at bedside. I read fiction, mostly nonfiction, but I'm always looking for, I'm scratching that itch, it's that new thing that I'm discovering. Something, I hear something like, oh, I really wonder what that's about. And I'll read a book on it. It's like, wow, I learned all these other things. And you got to go get another book and answer that question, another TV show or movie or documentary or whatever that is. It's great. It's great discovering new stuff.
I completely agree. No, never stop learning. And again, that's what keeps our minds fresh and get us excited about the new things that we're creating as well. No, I get it, man. And again, thanks a lot. This was terrific. I really appreciate this. And we'll stay in touch. And, before the end of the year, absolutely pop back on. And especially if you just want to do a mess around on, a night or whatever, it would be great to get Rachel on. I know Rachel's at the gym. Okay. I'm glad that the gym is reopened in your area and stuff. I'm envious as hell. So I can appreciate that. But no, all the best, Terry. I really appreciate you coming on tonight. Take care of yourself.
Cool. All right, John. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Good talking to you finally.
Thank you. Terry Dodson, everybody. It was a pleasure, and I want to thank you for watching Word Balloon. It was another great episode. You can see the kryptonite in the background there, right next to the Batman animated series print, and those are Spider-Man daily comic strips, written by Stan Lee, drawn by Larry Lieber, his brother, and inked by my good friend Alex Saviak. I always got to point that out. Some of the art that's on the wall. So eventually, I should turn the camera on the laptop and show you some more original art on other episodes. But really, thanks a lot for hanging out. All of you, all the best. Please be well. We'll talk again. Another Word Balloon Live is likely going to happen Thursday afternoon. I know that is in the can. There's a possibility there will be one on Wednesday. I got to confirm with the artist before, but I know for a fact Thursday afternoon, we will be talking to Brian Hitch in the middle of the afternoon because it'll be evening in UK time. And so we're going to have a great conversation about the Batman's Grave. The new issue comes out on Wednesday, issue 7, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Hitch and I have had our initial conversation, so now we're on a good rapport. And I look forward to reaching that point with Terry in subsequent conversations. So really, thanks a lot for hanging out. More great stuff coming from Word Balloon this week into June, July. As long as it takes, man, we're here to entertain you. Thanks a lot for watching. As I always say, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.